Well, hello everybody and welcome to Max Berry Productions. My name is Max Berry and you join me today in the brand new VW Touareg, which I've kindly been lent by MJ Warner Volkswagen in Hertfordshire. And let's get straight down to business. At the front there is a 280 brake horsepower 3-litre V6 diesel engine. In the middle is me and a wealth of electronic commodities, and at the back is a proper differential, because the Touareg is not a crummy little SUV. It's a proper four-wheel drive. The Touareg is now 15 years old and in its third generation, and in that time the 4x4 market has saturated immensely thanks to cheap little SUVs. So the question is now really, is the Touareg still relevant? Let's start with the interior, because it's a big talking point with a car like this. Most of the plastics in here are very nicely put together and give a nice bourgeois sound. One thing I really like in here are these sun visors, and you've got one that can go that way and then another one here that can go that way. That's just excellent, isn't it? The main thing to notice in here, however, is this enormous tablet thing we've got on the dashboard, which does actually reduce the number of buttons. In fact, there aren't that many buttons left in here thanks to it. It controls the heated seats, the radio, the media, in the same way in front of me, rather than analog dials, of course. Like most new VWs now, it has the LED screen instead. Loads of great storage space in here, as you would expect. The thing that is nice though, is it doesn't feel too big as you're driving around. You're aware you're in a good sized car, but it doesn't feel massive. The Touareg also has lane assist, which not only works on the motorway, but also on A and B roads, which is very good. To be honest, it's a lovely place to sit as you roll down the M11. And this brings me on to an important point. You see, the problem with certain big 4x4s of yesteryear has always been, for every modification that makes them better off the road, it actually makes them a little bit worse when they're on the road, which, let's face it, most cars are most of the time. Take ride height, for example. With a big 4x4, you raise it up, give it some good ground clearance so it can avoid rocks and badgers and tree trunks. But take that car and put it back on the road, and suddenly you find it corners far less clinically because it's got a much higher centre of gravity. So what we're really saying is, can a car like this, which has good ground clearance, weighs about the same as a cathedral and costs less than £60,000, can it really be enjoyable to drive? Well, I'm very happy to report that yes, it can. Volkswagen have used black magic to make the Touareg dynamic. What they've done is given the Touareg active anti-roll bars, and besides being incredibly nerdy, what they do is ward off body roll and keep the car flat when cornering. It's actually a very similar system to the one you get in a Lamborghini Urus. The Touareg has a flappy paddle automatic gearbox. The Touareg also has four-wheel steer, which is really, really useful when you're in a tight space and need to spin round. Volkswagen have also given this car the ability to park itself with a trailer behind it. The Touareg can launch itself from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 5.9 seconds and on to a top speed of 145, which, considering the front and back end share two different postcodes, is pretty impressive. There is also a 400 brake horsepower V8 version coming to America, I believe, which supposedly will run on red meat alone. The Volkswagen Touareg is comfortable, it's smooth, it's undramatised. It's got a big boot, it doesn't feel like you're driving around a small island. The systems are intuitive and genuinely useful. I guess what I'm really saying is the Touareg is a trusty companion. Nothing is overcomplicated or frustrating. So to answer the question I posed at the top of this piece, yes, the VW Touareg is absolutely still relevant, even 15 years on.